Welcome to the Empowering Family Health podcast. I am your host, Johann Callaghan, and today we're going to be speaking with Joseph Mc Guire, who is the owner of Clearsight Communications. And Joseph is a facial profiling expert, and he really is a true expert in this area. He's also the author of Face Facts, The Art of Reading Your Clients and Prospects for Sales, Negotiation and Recruitment. And he has decades of experience in the field of holistic health. So what are we going to be talking about today? Today we're talking about Joseph's innate ability to observe how people behave and communicate, Shiatsu and facial diagnosis, and how they relate to different organs in the body and emotions, how Joseph uses the art of face reading to profile a client, and how he can distinguish between masked behaviours and the real true underlying behaviours. And Joseph's going to be giving me a face reading as well. So you will find out what it's like to get a reading. So stay tuned for all of that. But first, please watch this video right to the end. It really does help with my YouTube algorithms and really to get more content to people like you. And I'll be giving a free gift at the end as well. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when you're going to be getting new videos. Also like and share this video, and please give me some feedback and some comments too so that I can respond to you. Go to the Facebook page, give her a like and join the group as well. So again, you will know that you are getting fresh content all right here on the Empowering Family Health Show. So let's get on with the show. So Joseph, you're very welcome.
Absolute pleasure, Joanne. Thanks for having me.
Brilliant. So Joseph, let's start off by, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, just to start off with, but also tell us why you are really passionate about this work that you do, because I know you are, and you're really good at it. So tell us why you love doing this and a little bit of background.
Okay. I'm a Dub. I'm back living in Dublin, but I've lived in several other countries as well and will live in others in the future. I guess the passion stems from my childhood, because as a very young child, I can remember always reading people, but I couldn't obviously have told you what I was doing. But instinctively, I could read a lot about people, and I could read a lot of my dad introduced me to sport and football. And when I would go to matches, I could see a lot of what was going to happen in terms of who would move where and who was committed, and like without necessarily even having the language to communicate it. And then years later, when I lived in London, I trained as a Shiatsu practitioner initially. Shiatsu is a branch of Oriental medicine. For anybody who hasn't come across it, often referred to as acupuncture without needles. But facial diagnosis was one of the things we were taught as part of the training process, because facial diagnosis is one of the diagnostic tools used in traditional Oriental medicine. And to me, once I started being introduced to that, it was just like bells going off everywhere. And then I was studying like 3-4 nights a week and weekends. And then I was also working with one of my teachers who ran a health food store. So as soon as anybody would come in the door, he would ask, what's his condition? What's her condition? So it was like full on total immersion, day and night. And I just loved it.
Wow.
And I just got more and more immersed in that. I did the whole shiatsu training, and I did start to practice a few years later when I moved to Hamburg. But I was so entranced by the whole face reading thing that I just started to study the whole broader Chinese perspective, which was that the mind and the body are just one inseparable unit. So while we were talking about like the diagnostic stuff was relating to, the organs, what area the face relates to which organ, etc., and body system, each of those organs and body systems in turn relates to particular areas of emotion, particular aspects of our mental processes. So our communication, our behavior, our personality, influences from parents and ancestors, as well as health issues, stress patterns. And I just got totally engaged. Yeah.
Wow. So I can hear in that, Joseph. So I say when you were young, when you were a child, and you were at those football matches and all this was going on, I'd say that seemed quite normal to you, and probably you'd expect everybody else to be looking and viewing at this the same way, because that's normal to you. And then when you started doing the studying, as you say, and you learned all these things and you were able to make sense, because as human beings, we have to make sense of things, I suppose. That's, that the brain likes to know these things. And so I can see where all your eagerness and your excitement, and it's almost like being a detective.
It is
Being
actually,
able
yeah,
to,
absolutely.
wow.
It is in many ways, and I know I've said it to people before, but I grew up like like a lot of people watching movies and stuff, and I particularly I loved westerns, and I loved the trackers, the people who could look on the ground and read
Oh
and
yeah,
say, oh
yeah.
yeah, the four men on horses went this way, and to me it's the same kind of thing because the face I can teach people the structure and I can teach people, this means this, etc. But I can't teach people what I do because for me, when I'm looking at an individual face, I'm looking at really the face is just an energy pattern. There's like an energy
Yeah.
imprint, and
It's
it's telling me so much about the person, where they've come from, where they're at, where they can be, and it's telling me so much about what's really going on inside them.
So here's what I hear in that, Joseph, is it's an art and a skill, and it's like public speaking. So you can read all about it and the best tips and best practices, but you can't be a great speaker unless you get up and actually do it. And it's a skill and an art, and everyone's an individual, and everyone has their own way. They're their best speeches, if you like. So yeah, so it's a real art and something that you have to practice, I suppose. And I think Joseph, this whole thing, I don't think you'll ever stop learning.
God, no, I wouldn't want to. No,
Yeah.
that's part of the joy of it. That there's never an end. There's never a point where you've got it all. And once you think you've got it all, you're deluded.
Yes.
So it's and every face has got something different to tell you, and
Yeah.
I mean,
Always be
that's just
teachable.
yeah,
Isn't that what they say? Always be teachable.
absolutely,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. Wow. Wow.
absolutely.
So tell me, right? I've done a lot of massage and Reiki and all that stuff as well, all the therapies, and I did feet reading. Right, this is
Okay.
a long time ago. I don't practice it too much now. So in the feet reading, I'm just comparing it and just to see if it's kind of the same type of thing. But in the feet reading, so you could read, past and present on the feet. You could read the mental. So the big toe was the mental, then there was the emotional, and then I can't remember, there was relationships, your safety, all these different things that you could read in various different parts of the feet. And obviously I did reflexology as well. So reflexology is like a map of your actual body.
Mhm.
Is that the way it is on the face? Tell us about the face. How do you read the face?
Okay, there's so many dimensions to it. Like, for example, the face is like a life map. And obviously, the ears are not on the face, but the ears actually represent the first 14 years of life, as well as your fetal development, as well as telling you about your grandparents and their lives and their relationship. And then you've got like the teenage years across here, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s.
Oh,
So if
wow.
there's lines, deep marks, etc., in a particular section of the face, it tells you something significant happened at that time of life. You can also divide the face into two vertical halves. So the right side of the person's own face
Yeah.
tells you a lot about how they've been influenced by their mother, but it also tells you about how they present themselves in public. The left side tells about their relationship and their influences, genetic influences as well, by their father and their private persona. So you'll often see when you look at somebody, you divide the face into those halves, you'll often see in public they're one thing, but in private they're something completely different. So there's many sort of layers and levels to looking at a face.
So each side of the face is not identical either.
No,
So it's like, okay,
no,
okay,
no,
brilliant. Oh my God,
no.
wow. So Joseph, how do you apply this? What kind of people do you actually work with?
Okay, it's pretty broad. In the business world, typically what happens is I would be called to sit in on a senior level interview, and I would be introduced as a colleague or an associate. So whoever's being interviewed isn't told what my role is.
Wow.
So I may or may not speak during the interview, but if I do, it's to alert the interviewer or the interview panel to something they really need to pay attention to. But either way, I'll make some notes, and then either during a break in the interview or after the interview, I'll write up a profile. And I won't say, it's very clear. I don't say do or don't hire or promote this person. I say if you hire them, this is the real person. Their CV says that, their qualifications say that, but this is how they're really going to behave. This is how they're
Wow.
really going to communicate. This is how you need to communicate with them to get the best out of them. This is how they'll respond under stress. And this is the sort of situation that will cause them stress.
Wow. That's really important. That's a really that can save a business owner so much money,
Yeah.
and also the productivity
Mhm.
and how they relate to people in on a team level as well. That's all really important as well. Oh my God, that is such valuable information. Um, so you'd actually sit in on the interview, and sometimes you'd say nothing, and I'm sure the person that interviewed is wondering, who is your man there? What's he up to, but oh my God, tell me, Joseph, do people feel uh knowing what you do, right?
Mhm.
Would they feel intimidated? Now I'm not going, Joseph, you're not looking at my face now, right? Now so this is going to be an audio and this is video. So folks, I'm hiding my face, right?
No need, Joanne. No need.
So I have nothing to hide. But Joseph, do you find that some people can be like, oh God, wonder what well, I'm sure they do. Wonder what he's thinking. Wonder what he's thinking of me there now in his head. What's, is he judging me, or, how is he reading me, or whatever? Because there's so much that you can tell about a person.
Oh, yeah.
I presume you get that, do you? And does that bother you, or?
No, it doesn't bother me because I'm well used to it at this point. I mean, I've been teaching this stuff, even beside from studying it, I've been teaching it for 35 years anyway. So I'm well used to all the varied reactions.
Brilliant.
So I get the reaction from people who are fascinated and want me to tell them about themselves immediately. I get the people who are just think it's complete nonsense and skeptical, and then the people who are completely cynical about it, and all the reactions in between. And it doesn't bother me how people react is entirely up to them.
Yeah.
And I connect with the people I connect with, so. Yeah, so that's the thing. When I meet somebody, for me, it's about meeting them. It's not about analyzing. It's because what I'm about really is establishing relationship and building relationship and nurturing relationship. And when I meet somebody, I want them, particularly if it's a significant meeting, I want them to feel better about themselves for having met me.
That's really great, Joseph, because for many people, we rank ourselves against other people, and, we'd have somebody up on a pedestal or whatever, and you can't relate or connect with people when they're on two different levels. So I hear what you're saying when you say you meet people. So you're meeting people at where they're at. But I'd be right.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of creating an opening for that connection. And that's really, really important. Oh my God. Yeah. Because you're right. And there's so many people that can't explain where they're at, or they're not clear on where they're at, and so you can see that, so you can help draw that out. And I guess would you call yourself like a coach or a mentor in this situation, because you can't tell people? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, because I worked as a therapist for almost 30 years. So one of the things I learned, I suppose I learned a number of things aside from the sort of technical skills and the diagnostic skills and all of that. I learned to be able to be comfortable with silence. And that silence is so powerful, because if you can be relaxed in silence with somebody, they will often start to reveal stuff to you anyway, much more deeply. And that applies in business as well as in personal situations. But also then the art of asking the right questions at the right time.
Yeah.
And that's partly about reading people people accurately. So it's in the questions you're asking them really so that the questions are to help them. They're not so much to give me information that I can use as such to help them get their own insights into what's really important for them, or what's really going on behind the confusion, maybe.
Yeah, because I think I've done lots and lots of programs and courses and stuff, and there was one particular one that I did, and I learned the art of conversation. So when you're in a group setting or whatever, and when people share their experiences, so many people are suffering in this world, but they're keeping it to themselves because they feel they're weak, or they don't want to show their vulnerability, right? But when you're in this group setting and you're having this conversation, and there's a facilitator there asking these questions, and it's really, I think, about exploring or discovering who you are through these questions, because there's a lot of us don't even know what questions we should be asking ourselves, or that we need to be asking ourselves to discover who we are. Because for many of us, we're living in this world where we are doing things, or we're being a certain way based on expectations of other people. So we're not really living from our true selves. And I think it's massive. And then you said something there as well about being in the silence. And I can really relate to that, because we're so busy and distracted, and there's so much noise that is preventing that silence. And I think it's only in that space of the silence where the answers come to us.
Often that's the case, yeah. So learning to meditate, to me, is essential, and learning to be with oneself and to be silent with oneself, and to cultivate silence for whatever period of time on a daily basis, ideally, and just be with that. And it's often the case that, yes, as you so rightly say, the answers come when we allow the silence to be there, rather than being in the noise, because life is so noisy nowadays, as we know. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think with all the stuff that's going on right now, and I don't want to get into that conversation, but there's a lot of fear in the world right now, okay? And there's a lot of, the news is on 24/7, and I don't listen to the news, by the way. I get all my information from my husband who listens to the news, right? But and my theory is if the news is bad enough, you'll hear it from somebody else anyway, right? Yep. So with all this news and everything, and it's just constant noise, and it's distracting us, and it's creating a lot of uncertainty, and we don't know what's coming next. We don't know if we have a job and all this sort of thing, right? And I think right now, Joseph, the message is to keep in high vibrational state. Now, some people don't like the word vibrational, but to look at different. I suppose it's our view. It's how we're viewing it, and that's the way it is with stress. How we respond to stress. It's how we view it, how we see something, our perspective. But with all this busyness and this constant noise in our face and the fear, I think it's really important right now that people, I suppose, practice gratitude to raise the vibration up. Well, can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, I've been through enough of my own dark paths, dark tunnels, whatever you want to call it.
We all have.
I've been through enough of my own. So absolutely. And to me, I don't regret any of it at this point, because I've learned so much about myself, about life, and I've learned so many lessons that I can use now to help other people going through stuff. But I've learned that you can't help people if they're in a dark place. You can't help people from being in a dark place yourself. You have to be at a different vibrational level, and vibration is actually a relevant term. It's not a new age term or a sort of happy clappy term, because everything in the world vibrates.
Yes.
We don't think in those terms, because we touch we touch a wall or whatever, we think, oh, it's solid, but it's not actually.
Yeah.
So so even if we're thinking purely in scientific terms, everything is vibration, and the higher the vibration we can operate at, the more we can actually see clearly what's going on for ourselves, hopefully, but also then what's going on for others, so that we can help them. And again, it is essential to me to be able to help people in the right way without interfering or without intruding on their lives. Yeah. So to help them connect with their own insights, not me telling them what's best for them or what they should do or any of that, because that is intrusive and that is interference. I certainly don't like it. I don't welcome it in my own life. And then it's whether I'm a coach or a mentor, I don't really know what title to use, but the importance of working with the right people. Like you've worked with Pat Slattery, Pat's just great at what he does. Pat's amazing at what he does. But it's finding the right people to work with as well. The people who have been there and have got those insights and have got the experience and the generosity to share that with you, and that they're grateful for their lessons. They're grateful for you being there as well, to be able to impart that to you and share that with you. And so gratitude to me is such a bedrock for everything positive that happens. And that sense of appreciation of life and whatever it is we've got, no matter how, if it feels like, things are not going as well as we would like today, is to look around and see, wow, how many amazing things we've got in our lives. And we all have. Yeah. We all have.
Yeah. I read one of your blogs there recently, actually this morning, about, it was just one that popped up, and something, talk about synchronicity. It was about the heart. It was a blog you wrote about the heart, right? And we're talking about these vibrations of gratitude and all of that. And I was introduced to 3 heart mat coaches in the last week, right?
I know Sharon is one of them, yeah.
Sharon Bannister, yeah. And a couple of other people, and I was like, oh my God, wow! And I found myself on the Heart Mat website looking at stuff, and there was a free course there at the moment. But the significance of the heart energy. And we all have these energy centers in our bodies, and some people call them chakras. And we are electrical beings, as you say. We're made of water and salt. We've got we're electrical, and the electromagnetic energy from the heart, and it's been shown and measured as well. Yeah. The heart energy, it's 5,000 times electromagnetically more powerful than the brain, and it's been shown that the heart has its own brain, and also, in many cases, the brain or the heart actually feeds the brain the information. That's the direction of the information. Yeah. And I just think it's just so incredible. What's your take? I know you're really passionate about the heart energy, and I think that if we can really go there and sit in our hearts, whether it's gratitude or thinking of a memory that we enjoyed very much, just to raise the vibration. What would you have to say to that? Joseph?
Yeah, again, it took me a long time to really connect with that whole thing of heart energy. I kind of, on an intellectual level, I knew it, but you mentioned conditioning earlier, and I had so much conditioning that was in my way, and that conditioned me to block my own heart. And then I became aware that there was a whole history of heart conditions in my family. Like my dad died of heart failure after a triple bypass, and I because I guess because I've been trained in the Oriental system, I was conscious that the heart is not just a muscle. The heart has all this other energetic resonance, emotional resonance, etc. And I began to connect more with gratitude, but also joy.
Yes.
Joy to me is just such a key word. And what I see so often is that it's missing in people's lives. I look at, like, particularly when I'm doing an individual reading, I look at the eyes, because the eyes, there's so many layers to the eyes in terms of what they tell you about the individual. Again, their whole emotional history, where they're at now, the level of energy, the level of commitment to life, engagement with life that they're bringing. So the whole thing of joy to me is just central to what I'm about, and that stems from the heart. And once we really connect with the heart, and sometimes that means going through a lot of pain, sometimes that means releasing a lot of pain, a lot of tears. And I think more men are also starting to connect with that and start to allow themselves to feel it, which again is so essential. And especially given all that we're going through globally at the moment, we need to open up rather than close up. We're seeing so much fear, but we need to actually open. And allow ourselves to blossom, allow ourselves to feel the joy, allow ourselves to feel whatever's in there, because even the painful stuff has messages for us, has lessons. And one of the other big things I've learned from opening to the heart is that when we allow, if there's real pain there, if we can allow ourselves to breathe into it, welcome it, acknowledge it, at a certain point when we're allowing ourselves to be with it, it's like it blossoms. It's like this flower that just opens. And
it's been heard.
Yeah.
And it's interesting when you say that we talk a lot about letting go, right? And I think a lot of people won't say don't do it correctly, but like a lot of people, they say, oh, just let go of stuff. But I think you have to, like what you said, it has to be heard first, because like pain, right? We have to feel the pain. The pain is a message. It's given us a message, right, to stop moving or to sit down and rest or whatever. And we feel these sensations all over our body, and our body is so intelligent and always trying to communicate with us, but we don't listen. Even like I teach people a lot about sleep, and a lot of people, they're going all day long. And we were never designed, like, we do have a natural slump during the daytime. And a lot of people, oh no, I need another cup of coffee, keep me going, I have to keep going, I can't take a rest. They have this badge of honor, that keep going. Yeah. But if we don't listen to our bodies, we're actually betraying ourselves. We're not listening to our body, and we're denying. We're saying our body, like what our body is trying to say. We're disconnecting from ourselves as such, and it's really deep, like, but it's really powerful too, Joseph. I think.
Yeah, to me, the body is essentially a metaphor. The body is a metaphor for how we are. The body is a teacher, and the body is like I'm using all sorts of words here, but the body is also a barometer for how we really are in life, how committed we are to life, how engaged we are in life, how grateful, how appreciative, how well life is going for us. And so many people are completely out of touch with their bodies. Like, I remember, again, over so many years working as a therapist, how often I would ask people, how does your body feel? And the answer, oh, I don't know. And people are so disconnected. As you say, people get into almost a frenzy of having to do. Yes, another cup of coffee, a bar of this, something to keep me going. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's actually, it's often the healthcare workers, the frontline healthcare workers, who take least care of themselves. So I'm not surprised, actually, so many of them are so ill as well and becoming ill. But that's maybe a separate story. But
and getting burnt out. Yeah, because and there's a lot of adrenal fatigue and being burnt out, and the vital energy and the kidneys store a lot of that energy, don't they? That vital energy. Yeah. And if that vital energy, like if that vital energy is damaged or disrupted in some way, oh my God, you've a lot of work to do to come back to your full health again. So like, you really have to honor your body and respect your body. And we talk, Joseph, about living in the head an awful lot and the thinking brain. And, in the Western world, we're very logical beings. We have to make sense of things and, have facts and all of this. But I think, Joseph, the transition that we're going through at the moment in the world is more feeling into our emotions, but feeling our emotions. People think feelings and emotions are the same thing, but feelings is feeling the emotion, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that is there's a distinction there, because so many of us are denying the emotion, as you say. So you study a lot of the Chinese medicine and their teachings. Can you tell us a little bit about we talk about the elements. Can you talk about how that works, or how we can use the elements to know a little bit more about ourselves?
Well, okay. When you talk about the 5 elements, that's a huge topic in itself.
I was just going to say, can you condense it?
Right. Okay. Well, you've talked about the 5 elements, there's fire, earth, metal, water, and wood, and they represent the organs. They represent the seasons, and each element is related to a pair of organs. So the fire is heart and small intestine. Then earth is stomach, spleen, and pancreas, which are regarded as one organ. Metal is lungs and large intestine. Water is kidneys and bladder, and wood is liver and gallbladder. So these are seen as organs that work in pairs, and if they work well together, we're in harmony, we're in good health, and that's on a physical, mental, and emotional level. But when we have to see those, there's the cycle of what we call harmony. So when everything is working well, wood, fire feeds earth and feeds metal, etc. But then there's also the cycle of destruction, which is when we're in stress. Yes. Physical, mental, or emotional stress. So that's when fire melts metal cuts through wood disrupts earth controls water burns out water, extinguishes fire. So it's a very comprehensive set. I'm giving a very quick, simplistic explanation of it, but it's a very comprehensive, holistic system, which has been, again, developed over at least 3,000 years. So there's a lot of wisdom in it, and there's a lot of insight, and there's a lot of ways in which it aligns with Western understanding of physiology as well, if we take the time to recognize and see the correlations.
Yeah, and it makes, because you could say, when we have acid indigestion, that's heat. And then we can have a lot of dampness in the body and mold and all this kind of thing. And when you look at it from that perspective, now look, we don't have to go out and get degrees in it or anything like that, but like, as long as we have some information about, because I think we are responsible for our bodies, and to have a little bit of information that can help empower us to know a little bit more, And I think just the reason why I asked you about the elements is because we do, mold is a very big issue that goes overlooked quite an awful lot, and doctors don't necessarily pick it up, and there's lots of things that the blood tests, the regular blood tests wouldn't necessarily pick up. And when there's loads, hundreds of modalities out there that you can do kinesiology, and I had a kinesiology session done with Julie, your friend Julie.
My very dear friend, yes. Yeah.
Brilliant. Oh my God, it was a biokinesiology, so it was all about the chemicals and nutrients. Oh my God. But anyway, that's another conversation, and we will be interviewing her in the next couple of weeks. But it's just incredible, like when you bring all that wisdom in, and it just gives you so much more power over, the health of your body. But it also, you're not relying on like a doctor. A doctor is trained to prescribe medicines and pills and all of that. But what about our health? What about maintaining our health and preserving our health? That comes first. And we're not doing that. We're waiting until we're sick. So that's why I believe that we need to know a little bit about all these different, Western and Eastern teachings. It's really, really important. Joseph, I'm going to ask you the $1 million question that everybody asks you. Can you tell me a little bit about this mush here about my face?
Okay.
What can you see? And I'm not hiding anything, so you can, whatever's there, you can say it.
Okay. And anybody who knows me well knows that I don't do the Irish plum-off thing. I just tell you what I see.
Good.
So I don't say, so anything, if I'm saying something nice, it's because that's what I see.
Okay.
I've spent so much time with German people that I've learned to be quite direct.
Brilliant.
Okay, there's a number of things. Your face shape, we talked about face shape. So your face shape is actually a combination of two, which is oval and rectangular. So the rectangular face shape is one that we instinctively associate with somebody who has leadership qualities. So when you're in harmony with yourself and you're confident in yourself and you walk into a room, you have a presence. People pick up on that without you doing or saying anything. So people have this sense of, this is a lady who knows what she's about. So once you're in harmony, relaxed and confident within yourself, you go into a room with that, in that state of being, people will pick up on it.
That's very true. That's very true. And it's when I'm in that state, because I can be in a state of, self-confidence. And I do, I have that imposter syndrome sometimes. I do, I'll be honest. But it's when I, have to have belief in myself and know, but it's in the being. It's in the being. It's in the being.
Absolutely.
Well, else, tell me.
Okay, so the oval shape is associated with somebody for whom harmony is really important. So that applies in all areas of your life. So your physical environment, your domestic environment in terms of your relationships at home, your relationships with people you work with or study with, that if you go into a room and there's stress somewhere, even if it's a room of 20 people and there's 2 people fighting over there, you will pick up on it. You will instinctively pick up on it very quickly.
So true.
And your challenge there is not to try to go and fix it, because your instinct is to make it better.
Yeah.
So it's to just watch that. If it's nothing to do with you and you don't have an invitation, stay away. Just get on with relaxing and enjoying the situation. And there's like, I'm like Columbo. There's always when I'm looking at a face, there's always one more thing. But I'll just throw in one other particular thing for the moment. Your eyebrows tell a lot about how people communicate and then how they progress through any given project. So your eyebrows are they're kind of a nice mix of straight and curved. So the straight bit tells me that when somebody's presenting an idea to you, they need to present it in quite a logical manner. It needs to make logical sense to you. But then when you're communicating it, you have to translate you have to translate it into a way that connects with people. That it's not just connecting with them up here. It has to connect with them as people.
Oh my God. Joseph, that is incredible. Wow. I'd say, my God, there are so many things that you could pick up from someone's face. Like on your talk, like ancestral stuff and the feminine, masculine, and the past, present, and the eyes. The eyes is a very big one as well. I remember I went to, do you remember the Body, Mind, Spirit in the RDS? Mary Sheridan used to do it back then. And there was a guy there over by the wall, I don't know his name. He used to do iridology.
Okay.
Yeah, and he did. I was curious. I was really curious, and he looked into my eyes, and he was able to tell me about a trauma that happened so many years ago. And he said to me, "You've dealt with it in your head, but you haven't dealt with it in your heart." And this is a good few years ago. And I'd been for a lot of counselling and talk therapies and all that kind of thing, And he told me where I had deficiencies in my body. He told me loads of stuff, right? Emotional, physical, past, present, all from looking at my eyes. Iridology. So this science, this art is not to be underestimated. This whole reading thing, because it can tell so much about a person, but help people in their transformation, I suppose. And that's what you're about, Joseph, isn't it? You like to help.
Absolutely. And we are at a time of massive transformation. Like for all the negativity and fear, etc. There's so much opportunity for us to grow, and partly it's a massive opportunity, even though we don't always recognize it, to be more secluded, to be more isolated, to learn to be with ourselves, and to really identify what our strengths and the magnificence within us is, and to learn to bring that out. And if we can see that as an opportunity, then that's a huge gift. And then we start to see ways to bring it out, because then there's that vibrational thing that we talked about earlier, where we start to connect, whether it's online or whether it's in the real world, as we used to call it, that we connect with people who are thinking, feeling, etc., reacting, acting, creating on the same kind of level, and we start to connect, and the world opens up differently. But it's that thing of being and being in that vibration, being in that state of receptivity, creativity, openness, and that brings about massive opportunity. But we have to do it to experience it.
Yeah, I love it. And you said creativity, and for many of us who are busy and responding to the external world, we can't be in a creative state where we're responding or reacting rather, whatever, and we're easily triggered. And you also said, Joseph, about the being. And for me, my experience, especially in the last year, and I've been practicing a lot of stuff, and I always will be. And life happens, right? Life happens, and it's always going to be happening in life, okay? And we're always going to be faced with challenges. It's never going to be perfect. Although, I say life is perfect, because whatever shows up, as a challenge when something happens. And don't ever say, I say to people, don't ever say life's happened, look what happened to me, because that's the victim mentality, right? But life happens. So look at that as an opportunity to learn something from it. That's always the way. I actually put a post up on my Facebook page earlier on today. Look at every situation like that as an opportunity to learn something from it. So even though it appears like it's a breakdown or a mishap or whatever, even all this pandemic, I hate saying that word, stuff is an opportunity for a change. And we do need, we're supposed to evolve as human beings. We're supposed to evolve and we're supposed to change. So it's part of. But in the being, Joseph, I'd say that's where the power comes from, and it's infectious. It's really, and I've noticed that because I have tried to fix people.
Yeah, we all have. Yeah.
And we want to save people, we want to save the world, but it doesn't work that way. It has to start with ourselves. And then, you know, all this work that you're doing, Joseph, around communication is absolutely key to our relationships. And we need relationships, we need teams. And as you say, when you're profiling these people, you're getting the ideal person who will work in the ideal environment with other people is really, really important, because that's where the power is. You know, so the work you're doing, Joseph, is incredible. We're coming near the end, Joseph, and I don't want to go. So Joseph, first of all, tell us, if you were to leave us with a very strong message, or, you know, a key message with what's going on in the world at the moment, or how you can help people with communications, what would that be? What would be your message, Joseph?
Oh, there's probably so many, but it's to, in as far as one understands it at this given moment, it's to learn, and I mean learn to relax. Learn to relax. Learn to trust what's really going on. Learn to connect with what's going on inside. Learn to trust what's going inside. Learn to be grateful. Learn to connect with joy in some way in daily life. Remember to laugh.
Yes.
Because laughter is infectious. Laughter is physically healing as well as emotionally healing.
Universal language.
Absolutely. And there's so many simple things that we forget because they're simple, and we underestimate the power of them. But learning to appreciate, learning to be grateful, learning to breathe, taking exercise, laughing, smiling, connecting with people. Like there's always some opportunity to connect with somebody who means something to you.
Yeah.
And learn to appreciate that, learn to build on that, learn to express something positive, something that's nurturing each day in some way, whether it's just writing something for yourself, painting for yourself, dancing for yourself, or sharing something like that with at least one other person, if not many, and just do it, but then do it and do it and do it, and the momentum builds, and life changes. Life just opens up, because once it's taken me such a long time to learn it. I've been around for a while, as you can see, but it's taken me a long time to get that message that the more we open to life, the more life is like, hey, come on, more of this. We're ready. We've been waiting for you. Yeah. And life becomes exciting. And so many people have forgotten that. And it's to help people reconnect with that.
That's so powerful. That is so powerful, Joseph. And it's really great. And like coming from that space of being and connecting, and the smiling, and remembering to, because it's all about raising the vibration, isn't it? Because it's like when you're in a vibration, so just if you were to do it as like light and darkness, if you're in a vibration of light, say you're in a room of light and darkness comes in, you can't really see the darkness. But if you're in a dark room and you light a little candle, you can see the light. So that's a really great message to keep the positivity up, and it can be infectious, as you say, as well. And share that with people, because that's adding more energy, because you're focusing on that by telling somebody else, you're sharing it with someone else, so it's adding energy and adding that momentum, as you say, as well. So that's a really, really, really important one, and I learned that as well myself. It really works. It does really work. Share with people what you're up to in the world. So Joseph, where can people find you, and where can they get your book?
Okay, you can only get the physical copy of the book, a signed physical copy of the book, from my website, which is
I'm doing that today.
Clearsightcommunications.com.
Okay.
So it's there, and if you prefer the Kindle version, it's on Amazon. But go for the hard copy.
Yeah, I love a physical book. I love to underline it and take notes and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
My copy today.
Great. And you can connect with me. I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm on Twitter, but I don't really use it. But I'm on Facebook, either as me personally or as Clearsight Communications. So there's a few options.
Okay, clearsightcommunications.com, isn't it?
Yep.
Brilliant. Yeah. So I don't want to let you go, Joseph. This has been absolutely incredible and insightful and empowering. And Joseph, I just want to acknowledge you for everything that you're doing in the world, because it really is tremendous work. And right now, the world needs this. And the message that you have, and you can see clearly, as you say, what it is that's required, that's needed. And it's a skill and an art, and not to be taken for granted. And you can really help people transform. And it's not about learning more and more stuff. It's transforming. You want to transform into a better being and more empowered being, because we are powerful, and that's who we truly are. So Joseph, on that note, thank you very much. Have a fantastic day, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Joanne. Absolute pleasure. Thank you.